This is another video from the animated battle series. This particular battle is one known as the Battles of Trenton and Princeton. It goes along with Chapter 6, Section number 3. As a recap, in the spring of 1775, the revolution begins in Boston with, after years of growing unrest, war finally breaks out at the battles of Lexington and Concord. The Battle of Bunker Hill will soon follow. In the summer of 1775, following the battles of Lexington and Concord, the Patriots besieged the British Army in Boston. The British await the arrival of reinforcements from England. In the summer, the Patriots plan a daring invasion of Canada. If they can capture Montreal and Quebec in surprise attacks, the Patriots believe that the French Canadians will join them in fighting the British. Spring of 1776. After the Patriots occupied Dorchester Heights overlooking Boston, the British abandoned the city. The Patriots capture Montreal but are defeated at Quebec, and they retreat to New York. In the summer of 1776, the British invade New York and soundly defeat George Washington's fledgling army. The British-Canadian advance is halted after being slowed by a tiny Patriot navy led by Benedict Arnold. In the winter of December 1776, after their victory over the Patriots in New York, the British decide to halt campaigning for the winter. They build a chain of garrisons. One garrison is at Trenton, New Jersey. December 1777, the British halt campaigning and build a chain of 7 garrisons. George Washington's beaten army freezes and starves. Washington knows that he must strike the British to restore morale. Washington plans a 3-pronged attack on the Hessian garrison at Trenton, followed by an attack on Princeton, and, if successful, an attack on Brunswick. December 25th and the 26th, Washington's main strike force of 2,400 men prepares for a treacherous crossing of the Delaware in the dark of night. A winter storm chills the troops as they march to the crossing point. The crossing of the treacherous river takes longer than expected. Washington's force assembles on New Jersey's side of the river and begins their march to Trenton as the day breaks. December 26th, the tiny army marches into 2 columns, one under John Sullivan and one under Nathanael Greene. The other 2 forces failed to cross the river and will not join in the attack as planned. Colonel Rahl, the Hessian commander, has ignored repeated warnings of a rebel attack and refused to build redoubts around Trenton to protect against attack. Washington's army surprises Hessian sentries as it approaches. Colonel Knox sets up artillery to command the city streets and opens fire as the rest of Washington's army advances. Glover, Stephen, and Fermi march around the town to cut off escape routes. As his men are cut down by rebel fire, Colonel Rahl leads 600 men to an orchard in an attempt to escape, but is cut off. He decides his only chance is to attack and retake the town. Colonel Rahl is severely wounded as he leads the attack. The attack fails and he and his men retreat east. The Napanson Regiment attempts to escape over the creek, but is cut off by Glover. The mortally wounded Colonel Rahl surrenders his forces to Washington. Concerned about a British counterattack from Princeton, Washington orders his forces to recross the river to Pennsylvania. The American losses, the Patriots suffered 7 casualties, 2 dead and 5 wounded. One of these wounded is Lieutenant James Monroe during a courageous charge to silence 2 Hessian cannon. Monroe will become the 5th President of the United States in the year 1817. The Hessians suffered 22 killed, 83 wounded, and 896 captured. Colonel Rahl soon dies of his wounds. December 30th. On December 30th, Washington leads his men across the river again. He makes an impassioned plea asking the men to stay past January 1. Almost all of the men step forward and stay with the army. Washington can consolidate Washington consolidates the army at Trenton. He believes in his inexperienced soldiers will fight best from a defensive work, and he orders them to build earthworks along Aspink Creek. January 2nd, Lord Cornwallis quickly organizes a strike force at Princeton, intending to destroy Washington's army. Colonel Hand takes command of a small force with orders to delay the British advance. January 2nd, Washington asks Hand to delay Cornwallis' advances so that Cornwallis does not arrive at Trenton until nightfall. Hand conducts a brilliant delaying campaign, forcing the British to crawl. January 3rd, at 0100 hours, Washington leads his army silently out of camp on back roads toward Princeton. He leaves 500 men behind who tend campfires and make digging sounds to fool the British. January 3rd, as Washington approaches Princeton, General Manhood marches to support Cornwallis with 800 more men. Both armies see each other at the same time, and both rush to position for battle. Mercier was ordered to destroy the bridge over Stony Brook to delay Cornwallis. Mercier's patriots and Mawhood's redcoats spot each other simultaneously. Mawhood orders his column back. Mawhood decides to attack Mercer with most of his force, sending a part of the 55th Regiment back towards Princeton. Washington's main column continues to Princeton, unaware of Mawhood. Mawhood's redcoats and Mercer's patriots exchange volleys. Mawhood realizes the patriots have few bayonets, orders a charge, and routs Mercer's force. Mercer is mortally wounded. Cadwalader attempts to bring his men into the line against the British, but the raw recruits panic upon seeing the disciplined British troops, and they begin to panic. It appears to be a rout. Washington's main column halts when it encounters the 55th Regiment. Washington sees the battle occurring to his rear and leads the rear of his column towards the battle. After extorting his men by saying there is but a handful of the enemy, Washington personally leads the attack on Mawhood. The redcoat line breaks and Mawhood retreats in disorder. When Sullivan sends a force to flank the remaining redcoats across the Frog Hollow Ravine, the redcoats panic and withdraw in disorder towards Princeton. Washington has won again. Following the victory, Washington leads his tired army north to Morristown, where the army will spend the winter. On January 19, only 800 men answer roll call. Following the disastrous loss of New York in 1776, George Washington has restored the hopes of the Patriots. The two tiny victories at Trenton and Princeton have shown that the Patriots can defeat the British. The French, who have quietly shipped supplies to the Patriots in non-French flagged ships, now begin to ship supplies in French flagged ships. Another victory will bring the French in on the side of the Patriots.